What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Absolute Auction Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Miner. I am joined here by Brett Hoffman of Sleeper. Brett, what's going on?
What's up, Ryan? How are you? Thanks for having me on the show, and looking forward to talking rookies.
Doing good, man. Doing good. We're a part of the Face Off Sports Network. Go there for all your fantasy football needs. fffaceoff.com. So, Brett, we have a big topic to talk about. We're going to be talking about NFL Combine with you. You're definitely one guy I wanted to pick brain at. But one first thing I want to talk about is Deebo Samuel trade to the Commanders for a fifth-round pick. Do you think that was a good trade, or do you think that was actually a trade that didn't benefit either team?
It's sort of like an old school NFL trade when you see like a star player who is kind of aging but not really aging at the end, just get traded for a fifth. I remember like Santonio Holmes back in the Jets traded it when the Steelers, they got him for a fifth. It just happens. For whatever reason, like that's the trade package. Maybe they could have done a little bit better, but to be frank with you, it seems like they weren't going to, hash out a long-term extension. So getting anything back sometimes works, and I'm not going to really knock it too much.
No, I totally agree with that. Like, this trade was definitely a clear. I give this grade an A to the Commanders on it because it gives Terry McLaurin a solid number 2 pass catcher around him. You look at that team, they had Zach Ertz as their number 2 wide receiver. Or actually, yeah, not even their number 2 wide receiver, but the number 2 pass catcher. He's old. He's like 34 years old. And then your next really best player is Olamide Zaccheaus there. So to really have to say go from Terry McLaurin to Zach Ertz to Olamide Zaccheaus is not quite the downgrade you want to have. But to say Terry McLaurin to Deebo Samuel, it's definitely, someone who's going to get second most touches out of that team, I think, in the passing game.
No, for sure. Look, I'm obsessed with Jaden Daniels since day one. Obviously, I didn't think he'd be this dope right away, but him and Cliff are magic out there, and adding another guy like that, they're going to be great. So Washington's obviously on the rise, and if they stay healthy, they should be definitely in the playoffs and probably competing obviously with the Eagles to win the NFC East, but could win the division.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That'd be great. Like, especially like Jaden Daniels. Like, this definitely gives him a nice boost. He's already got like a huge boost as it is already. He's already a top 3, top 4 dynasty quarterback as of right now. Looking at him, and for Deebo Samuel, like his value in dynasty auction draft is not bad either. He's going for about $6-7 in drafts right now too, so that's not bad. The one that it might take a hit on is Terry McLaurin, who's been going for about $11-12 in startups. And these startup drafts are based on $200 budgets, so you're not really spending a high cap amount, but still, it's still enough to kind of make a difference to that team. But like in return, like looking at this trade, like, okay, the 49ers, are having an issue with Samuel saying he wanted to be requested a trade. He got his wish. Now the Commanders are taking on the remainder of Samuel's contract, paying his full $17.5 million salary. So the Niners get relief, but still at the same time, the Niners don't get relief because I think they still have to pay I think they have a dead cap of around $29 million for a 29-year-old pass catcher. So, but on the bright side of this, I like the trajectory for Juwan Jennings. He just got a 2-year extension this last spring, and then Ricky Pearsall. I think this is gonna be a nice boost for him. So I definitely have these two probably back to back in rankings right now. I'd have to look at them, but they'd probably be easily. I'd probably put Jennings as a back end wide receiver 2, Ricky Pearsall high end wide receiver 3. How do you feel about that?
No, for sure. I want to dig into a little bit more in terms of the auction and the exact pricing before I give a full opinion, but just immediate fallout from the trade. I agree completely. The players you mentioned, obviously it takes a hit to McLaurin, but you could argue that, another guy there obviously may, if Washington's offense is even better, maybe it doesn't have the biggest hit, but probably will. So, Pearsall and San Fran, and they're probably going to, add somebody in addition to Jennings or draft somebody in addition. So I'm curious to see the direction for sure where they go.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason here. This is a heck of a start because the trade's not official till I think it's later in the season, June, after post-June 1st, just because of the whole dead cap money. But yeah, like you said, we still have free agency to come on. We still have the rookie draft, the NFL draft to come on. I always keep calling it rookie draft. I don't know why.
Same idea.
Yeah, it's just I always have like an issue with like always saying that, but you know, definitely players to be moving up and around. Like especially a player like George Kittle. He's one player I actually like as a tight end right now. I think that's going to benefit him the most as he already had a dominant season.
Absolutely.
All right, man. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to what you came here for, the NFL Combine review. So
Yes.
you were there. You said it is great to be at. Nothing but a blast. So much activity going on. Brett, elaborate how boring it really was.
The combine itself is the workouts and the testing itself is extremely boring. I spoke to numerous people who, the NFL guys. I asked them, should I go? And they're like, no, it's extremely boring. So I checked it out on day one for about an hour before I spoke to those guys. So I saw it myself just to get an idea, but it's extremely, there's a reason it's free. So, but in terms of the juice outside of it, that's really where it really lies. It's more just it's sort of a network of meetings and nonstop, from meetings from executives to executives, team meetings internally, and then also meetings with players. So I spent a lot of my time trying to speak with executives and players. So put myself in position, in different areas, not at the combine, really just along Indianapolis at the hotels, really in the lobbies, really is the hot spot, at the restaurants, at Starbucks, as everyone knows. So, there's a lot of different avenues. Playing it right and navigating it is obviously, I'll have a better idea for sure for next time I go, if I do.
So are you looking to go next year?
I'll probably go. Yeah, I'd probably go.
And what would you change? Like, what would you learn from going this year for next year?
I'd probably
like, what are you going to do differently?
I'd stay in downtown Indianapolis rather than Ubering from where I stayed from, but that's just aside. And it depends on how you're playing it. I don't really work for, any company on a full-time basis that I was covering anything with. So this is more of my own freelance work. So if obviously most people there are accredited, they're there for a team or an agency or player. So it's a bit different playing it, as media or non-media or fan. So from my perspective, just going in, as without any credentials, you have to play your cards right. You just be all over these guys asking for signatures. I'm not like that type of person. I'm a little older for that. So, there's definitely different ways of doing the combine experience for sure.
Right, dude. I think you and I are too much alike because I'm the same exact way. Like my son's all about getting the autographs, and I'm like, yeah, go ahead and get it. He's like, you don't want the autograph? I'm like, dude, I don't care. You're a little kid. You look up to these guys. Like I'm just here just to be here with you to have fun. So I like that.
For
I like
sure.
your aspect of that. So you said you got to talk to some executives. Who'd you get to talk to?
Yeah, I spoke with Ryan Grigson, the Vikings assistant GM. He was interviewing this offseason for the Jets GM opening. So that's what I was kind of, speaking to him most about, more so than like the Vikings. I was just chirping with him kind of about Woody Johnson, how dysfunctional the organization is, and probably how he probably made the best decision, not to, land with us. So he was a very cool dude. He was very open. He was telling me that, he was formerly, a head GM somewhere else. I forget where, but, I think that he told me that as a GM, you don't really get a second shot in the NFL if you don't really kill it, in your first experience. So much so, like if you're a coach, you get much more opportunity as, a second opportunity if you don't really have a great first run at it. So, he was cool. Then I spoke with some Eagles guy, Charles Walls, I think VP of personnel or something like that. But, I was just talking to him about, draft methodology, like how they ID players from colleges that are not like SEC or like, schools you don't see on TV every Saturday, like, because the Eagles have been drafting guys from like, Houston Christian, etc. So, I just wanted to gain intel, and he was telling me how they do a lot of comps, a lot of the metrics that, the combine, that's very big for those guys, obviously, because they're able to draw, similar parallels to former guys that, last year, 2 years class, 3 years class. So obviously you see a lot of the comparable stuff with the measurables, and teams are obviously relying on that heavily. So seeing the value in that and really understanding that was helpful for sure.
Nice. And then, did you get to talk to any players at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Players I met with were LeJohntay Wester, Colorado receiver. Jimmy Horn, also Colorado receiver. I was chilling with Smile Munden in the DB room at the Westin Hotel. Another guy, I forget his name, cool dude, defensive end, and Tez Johnson. So I said what up to Tez. He was walking through the lobby a few times. So yeah, I didn't see like Cam or Shadur, but saw who you see, and it was cool for sure.
That's pretty awesome. It's
Yeah,
it's nice when you actually get to talk to people too, like one on one.
for sure. I was gonna say, like, you actually, like, it was interesting. Like, the guys are all, not all, but they were very different. Like, I met two Colorado receivers in the span of 20 minutes, and both of them are total opposites. Wester was a very, like, nice, friendly, smiley type, like, real chilled out with his family. And then I said what up to Jimmy Horn, and Jimmy Horn was very, like, diva, brash type guy. So he was like, you want a picture? I'm like, not really. Like, I didn't, like, I was just saying what up. So he, you see different personalities when you interact with these guys, and that's what the GMs get an opportunity to do for sure. That we don't.
Yeah. So yeah, you get to see some different personalities, different egos. Like those egos sometimes I hate, and especially like, me being like a fantasy football type of person. Some of these questions that some of these people ask, I'm like, why would you even ask that kind of question? It's like, it's not legitimate question. Like, you kind of want to ask, something more reasonable, something more, like, I always like to say, like, be respectful. Like, would you want someone to ask you that question? If the answer is
What
no,
was the
then
exact
don't
question
ask it.
exactly?
It was someone last year asking Caleb Williams about a question. I forget what it was.
Right.
And,
Right.
and like everyone went off on it. And I was like, really? I'm like, this
You
probably shouldn't
can't
be
get
a
too
topic
caught
we
up
should
in
do.
this stuff,
Yeah.
Can't
It's
get
like,
too caught up in that stuff. These guys all have different personalities, and the difference is that for fans and people like us, we're just looking at tape and metrics and stats and stuff. So to really talk to these guys is absolutely different, and you can really get a sense of who they are. So definitely that's the time that the combine is probably the only time to really get that.
yeah. And these don't, and like for this next question I'm asking, these don't have to be fantasy related. Like, but like, who is
Yeah.
someone you actually could think actually see themselves rising up from what they did over this past weekend in the
Yeah.
NFL draft? Like, could they go from free agent to being like a late round pick, or late round pick to a day 2 pick? Did you see anything like that happen?
Yeah. Yeah. For the most part, in terms of like guys who may have, flew up a little bit, I thought Jalen Lane, the receiver for VTech, he ran real well and did well in the drills. I thought he'll probably, maybe move up from receiver something to, 5 slots up. Kyle Williams also ran 4.4 and like he looks good. Woody Marks, to me, I've always been on him. I think that he'll be, a running back people will look at a little bit earlier than prior. And then, I don't know, if you want to talk about like, guys who really stood out and stuff like that, or if you want me to cover that a little bit later. But yeah.
Yeah, no, you can have guys that you think really stood out. Someone
Yeah,
who really
no.
boosted their draft capital.
Yeah, there was obviously a lot of, obviously people know because obviously everyone's following, but Matthew Golden basically clinched the receiver 1 spot. So, from going literally 2 months ago, Matthew Golden was probably my wide receiver 12, 10. So to go to 1 is kind of nuts. It looks like he's going to be the first receiver taken. So good for him. Judkins for sure, solidified as like a top 3-5 running back, I think. And then defensively, Jahdae Barron. I've been a huge fan since day 1 of Jahdae, and he's going to be probably, I guess, Hunter's a cornerback, so it'll be the second maybe cornerback taken. I think he took Will Johnson's spot, and then Eman Wari. Everyone's following that massive safety from South Carolina. You ran a 4.3. You guys did all the measurables you could ask for. So those are the guys that really stood out just off the top of head.
Man, Will Johnson getting passed up here. I mean, I'm a Michigan man, big Michigan Wolverine fan, live 20 minutes away from the stadium. So hearing Will Johnson's name getting dropped down, man, I'm like, oh.
That's just my opinion.
Hey,
so
if he falls
literally
on the lines, I'll take it. I will take it. He stay home.
Nah, not that, not free fall.
No, definitely not free fall. And but one I heard that's possibly free falling is like Ollie Gordon. Like his combine wasn't as good as people was hoping it was going to be.
I mean, I don't know why everyone was so high on him. Like last 2 years ago, he was nice and like he looked smooth and everything. He lengthy, and he looked great, but he didn't play all last year. And then for him to run, I think 4.6 or like 4.5, whatever. Yeah, he's going to be really a guy that goes from that bracket to maybe day 3 or out of the draft.
Oh man, what could have someone that was like everyone was really high on a couple years ago has now like fallen off the graces.
It happens, honestly, and that's not to say that he can't have a good career. And most people could be easily wrong about it. So
Yeah, like this is my favorite time of year. Like, like I told like you and I talked before the show. Like I do a bunch of rookie mock drafts. I'll do like one QB and super flex over on Sleeper. We
yeah,
post, we extrapolate all the data we put on the site, give people like real life data of what they can see as the 101, the 107, all the way in the fourth round. I always do 4 rounds, 12 teams. So to kind of give you more in-depth perception of players you can see. And I've been noticing more in these mocks that I do. Like I'll jump in with them. I'm leaning heavy running back. It doesn't matter if it's super flex or one QB. Somehow, some way, it's either if I don't get that quarterback, if I'm not getting Cam Ward or Shador Sanders early, and they don't follow me, I'm just going running back at every pick. Does that sound like something you can see like going as drafts go on?
I'm doing a mock draft after we get off this call and tomorrow and all week. So I'm going to send pictures after. But to answer your question off the surface, 100%. We both, I think we've talked about for a long time. This is the best RB class in a long time. It's very deep. And, there's going to be a lot of guys that are productive right off the bat. And, there's gonna be, that's why to me, like when these guys like Mel Kiper, etc., like saying that there's gonna be 3 running backs in the first draft, in the first round, like I that was like my opinion about like 2 months ago, like, but like that's like outdated, like that's not happening. So there's too many other quality needs and players for 2 running backs to be taken in the first round. I don't even think Hampton would be in the first round personally.
And it was funny too is like it wasn't not too long ago that you sent me. I'm trying to find it right now. You sent me a draft, the
Yeah,
NFL draft, and you're like, let me know what you think of this because you thought you were actually going to get like a lot of flack for it.
100%.
And it was beginning of January. I want to say it was that you sent it to me,
Yep.
and it had 3 or 4. I think it was three. Was it 3 or 4 running backs going in the first round?
Yep. 3
And
running backs.
like you're like he's like, dude, this is what you said. I think a lot more running backs are going to go. NFL teams are switching over the running backs. You
Mm-hmm.
need to look. You need to look more into it. And I'm like, I don't see this happening. There's no way that these
I
running backs are going to
remember.
go.
I remember that exact conversation.
And you look at these mock drafts that are coming out. Mel Kiper and all of them. They're showing 2 to 3 running backs in the first round. And I'm like, did they steal your drafts? And they're modifying it.
Literally, but I think so. Yes, but to answer your question, I'm now out on it. Like now that they've joined the ship of that whole movement, I am now out. I don't believe that's going to happen. I think that obviously they're going to be taking top 40 or 45, but not first round. So, yeah, I think they did take a good look at my January first mock ever.
Because I mean, there's rumors also stating that a lot of people like Omari Hampton over Ashton Genty.
I don't
So
buy it.
you don't buy it
Nah, not a bit.
but Genty's still going to go first round.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that's. I think there's a lot of smoke, a lot of rumors you'll hear, and you never know what to believe. But that one's just not true.
Is Hampton going to go first round still?
I don't think so.
No, he won't follow the Chargers. You don't think he'll go that early?
No, I think he'll fall out of the first round.
Everyone, so one running back in the first round.
Correct.
I like where this is going. I like where this is going.
100%. I'd bet on it.
Yeah, because
I will bet on it.
You will bet on it.
I will be betting on that. Yes.
What about wide receivers? Do you think there's still going to be a couple there, or is that more going to drop?
100. Okay, so it'll be McMillan, Burden. I think I still did Burden first round. Golden, Ekbuka. So I think 4 in the first. 4 in the first.
That'd be wild. I mean, I can't believe like Golden. Like Golden could go so many places. Like he's got such a skill set that can.
Dude, he's
be
going
put in any team.
He's going somewhere quick.
And then
McMillan, like, look, I've been out. I don't think he's as good as people think. So I think that obviously I could be way off, but he doesn't seem like he's like blazing up the board to anyone, over the last, 2 weeks. So,
Mhm.
if anything, I think he's falling. So, I think Burden goes before McMillan too.
Oh, nice. And then speaking of falling, I've heard Shador Sanders is actually like didn't have that great of talks with teams, and they're saying basically he can go as early as possible as the Raiders at 6.
I just don't see how the Raiders could possibly pass up on him. Honestly, Ryan, like it just like they literally need a QB,
All
and
right.
he's right there.
Yeah, but so do the Browns. The Browns need a quarterback because
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson's done. The Giants need a quarterback, but there's rumors that they're going to trade up to the number 1 pick.
Yep.
Which didn't you break that first?
No, that was the Jets. It's
That was
also
the
a
Jets.
discussion too. Obviously, there's a lot of teams.
So yeah, so everyone wants to trade up to try to get Cam Ward. So whoever trades up for Cam Ward, like, should that be the number 1 pick in Superflex, or should it still be Genty no matter what?
I'm into Cam. I'm also into Tyler Warren. So I think, in terms of rookie productive right off the bat, he could be that. He may have the best year of all of them. Just year one. So I still think, yeah, I'd say those 3 are my top 3.
All right. So we're gonna move on to a more fun aspect of this. We're gonna look at some rookie auction values that I've accumulated. So I've gotten quite a few drafts from people, but this time I have 4 drafts that actually had rookies that were actually part of the draft. So people are actually bidding on these rookies. And if you could guess, who do you think went for the most money?
Genty?
Yes, you nailed it, dude. 26.75 on average. He went as high as 28 and as low as 25. So basically, what it's kind of saying is, if you have the 101 rookie pick in an auction league, it's basically worth $26.
What is the next guy?
The next guy would be
D-Mac?
Yes. Yeah, he comes in at 19.25.
I'd sell.
Yeah, he's coming in at 19.25, and Amarian Hampton is coming in at 16.75.
That's heavy. What about Tyler Warren?
Tyler Warren, he is the number 1 tight end at $14.
Cheap.
And Colson Lovin comes in at 10.75. But he's starting to go up. Like his last draft, he was at 15.
Watch out for Ferguson.
Terrence Ferguson, he's a dollar pick. So he's one of those players. When I say $1, those are usually like my end of bench. I'm going to throw this guy on there and see what happens.
I live for that section.
So when I went through the whole rookie draft, I grabbed every rookie that was on there. So you'll see rookies on that list that were as low as a quarter. And that's because they were drafted only once out of those 4 drafts. So if they don't get drafted, I just put a 0 there. So to say, basically, you're basically going to spend $1 on these guys at most, as of right now, if you're able to get them.
That's a cool system.
You like how I put all that together? I mean, no one else can see it but you and I, because it'd be kind of hard for everyone to see it the way I extrapolated it. But it kind of gives you an idea of what that player went for, an idea of, that draft compared to the next draft and the next draft and the next draft. You kind of see like how it all adds up.
It's a tremendous system.
But the one that makes me nervous, and I think what wide receiver I'm going to talk about, because is he going to be a wide receiver? And that's Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
Like the rumor has it, people think he's I'm hearing more and more now since the combine that he's going to be a wide receiver.
I think 100% a wide receiver. I don't think it's out of debate. I think he's Tyreek Hill.
If he's Tyreek Hill and I'm getting him at $8 in my startup auction draft, I am buying all day long if that is true. If you're saying he's like Tyreek Hill, I am buying. And I'm running to the podium.
I think it's 100% worth that gamble. I think that there's no team that's going to actually play him on both sides, and I guarantee you they're going to make a decision. So obviously that decision could burn you, but it's a decision that could really propel you. So as you say, it's a gamble. But if he's offense, he's Tyreek Hill.
So if he's offense, could we say a New England Patriot?
I think it just doesn't fit their mold. No, it's not too early. I just think it would surprise me because I don't know if Kraft wants the attention of that vibe and that culture. I don't know his relationship with Dion. It's just I don't know. I think he may rather take a meat and potatoes kind of guy, honestly. But that's projection. Honestly, Hunter obviously could go 1 overall.
Yeah, and these are also super flex drafts. So the quarterbacks were actually one that really kind of blew my
Yeah.
mind. So the first two aren't really like surprising. Cam Ward came in around $17. Shador Sanders came around 16. Those two quarterbacks, I'm not surprised. That's actually to me like a good value if I'm doing a startup draft, because these guys you're looking at, they're gonna have top 5, top 10 draft capital in the NFL draft. So you're looking at the first 4 years with them at least starting. You got something there, so you have at least a base to build on, and that's how I like to build with my like dynasty teams. Like if I need a rookie or I want to have a little bit of depth with my veterans,
For
these are two
sure.
guys I'd be going after. But one name, and I've actually moved up on him quite a bit. And I was on another show a couple weeks ago, and that episode won't come out for another week, I don't think. But it was Jackson Dart as QB3 on this list.
Yeah.
625. He definitely, I heard he boosted his stock up at the combine. He had a great combine, and he could actually be the QB3 over Jalen Milroe coming now.
I think that's a confirmed thing. I think he's
Okay.
100% a first round pick, and like you just said, I think his combine solidified. I think he's going to be first round. I think LA makes sense. I think LA makes a ton of sense. Rams, that is, behind Stafford. Obviously, he's on a 1 year last year. Excellent mentor. Get that progression for the next quarterback. I think that's a great fit. Seattle, another option. Gino at the end of his career, he's a guy that also will be a great mentor. So I think Dart's 100% going to be a first round pick. Question is where. I think Seattle, LA teams that make sense there in the back end of the first round.
Nice. And then like Jalen Milroe, like I still
Yeah.
see him as a second round pick, but he could
Yeah.
sneak in the first round. Someone trying to get that 5th year option real quick.
I really think that's exactly what I thought like about like a week ago, and I'm still not sure exactly where I'm at with Milroe. And I think there may be that team that does that whole trade to the 32 and gets him.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were to ballpark his over under in the draft, honestly, I'd still have it at like 32.5, just because that's like a possibility, as we all know. So the massive upside, and you got to develop him with a great coach.
Yeah, and then speaking of development, like one I heard that really struggled this weekend was Will Howard. If he didn't do anything, he hurt his draft stock even more. Like
Yeah.
his throws
Yeah.
were off, everything was off.
I know. I don't know how much I'm buying that stuff. Like I know he wasn't great, but like there's a lot of sample size of him playing great at 2 colleges. Obviously, one of them he had blue chip players on his squad. So I don't know. It's tough to gauge just like based off like a couple of throws here and there in a combine, honestly.
Right. I didn't hear anything
Like
much about 20 years.
Tyler Show, everyone is saying now is like, all of a sudden you just forget all the tape because he looked good at the combine. Like I don't want to get crazy with that with quarterback.
The whole raw athleticism, thinking like they're the next Anthony Richardson, and look at where he's at now.
He's a disaster.
Yeah, and so is Anthony Richardson. I'm still not buying into him.
No, he's an absolute. He's not coming back. The guy's done.
All right, I'm gonna jump over to running backs here real quick. So,
Yeah.
Trevion Henderson, Caleb Johnson, Quinshon Judkins. Caleb Johnson, I heard, didn't have that good of a 40 time for ran a 4.6, but if anyone ever watched Iowa games, they could see that he's not that top burning speed. He knows how to put that shoulder down. He knows how to use his body. He just doesn't have the burner speed.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why people say that's like hurting, like that's going to hurt his value. Because I just look at Kyron Williams and think the same thing. Like if Kyron Williams could do it in the NFL, why can't Caleb Johnson do it?
Could not agree more. Honestly, I'm not going to disagree with that because I'm one of Caleb Johnson's biggest fans, and I think he's going to be the second or I think third running back taken. But I think he may be the best maybe of this year for all we know. I think he has that potential. So anyway, I agree. I think the running time, I think he kind of runs faster like in game time than that actually is. I 40. Maybe he doesn't have the breakaway speed, but he's got like Le'Veon Bell type vibes to him where he's just like kind of sorting out what's going on ahead of him. Great vision. And I really like him.
Nice. And he's the RB3 on this list too, going for $14.25. So barely over $14. That's not a bad deal if you get him as your RB3.
I'm buying.
And then RB4 was Trevion Henderson at $13.25. That's not bad either. Like a lot of people, I like his running style still, but I still like Quinshon Judkins better.
I'm
That's
with
just
you.
me.
I'm Judkins over Henderson.
Yes, I like his running style better. So I'll take Judkins at the discount for $11. And then we'd have a huge drop in the running backs where it goes to from $11 to $6.25, and that's Devin Neal. Now he was great.
He's very fast. I remember him at Kansas. Yeah, I think he's a good. He's like I think I'm gonna look at my rankings right now. He's like eighth running back, ninth. Yeah, right around there. So yeah, absolutely in play in like the fourth round, maybe fifth.
Yeah, and then running backs start dropping quickly after that. So like I said, he goes to 625. Then Cam Scatterboo at 6, Dylan Sampson at 450, Ollie Gordon at 450, which we already
Yeah,
talked about, and how
yeah,
he kind of lost his,
yeah,
his
yeah.
mojo. But all these numbers I got were also all pre-combine drafts.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you 100%. There's definitely some updating because that kid from Virginia Tech, Tuden, really shot up, and then Brashard Smith, SMU, looked good. So those guys like kind of vaulted up from like 13 to like 10 in my stuff. So definitely some changes, but not. I don't want to get crazy with it, but I agree that like I don't know, like I'm starting to understand a little bit more about like these metrics and how much teams really value them. Because like when you look like at like the previous like top guys who won like the 3-cone shuttle and like all these like different drills, those are guys that actually are really good in the NFL. So there is a big correlation, and you got to take into effect these numbers for sure.
yeah, and I can't believe Titan ran like the same speed as Devin A. Chain, who's also like
Devin
30 pounds, who's like 30 pounds later than Tutton. So to run that fast at that size, man, that just blows my mind.
Devin A. Chain is my guy. Number one, day one, Devin A. Chain.
All right, and then we're gonna jump over to wide receivers, and I'm gonna jump into Matthew Golden just because he's so low on this list, and I could see him moving up so high on the list. So like Ted McMillan came in super high, 1925. Matthew Golden, on average, was going for $6. So he's definitely gonna see his value be jumping. Like, there's no way he's gonna be under $6 anymore.
Yeah, I think 16.
You think $16?
I don't know the numbers well enough, but if you're saying McMillan is worth 14 or so, you said
McMillan's worth 19.
19.
Yeah,
So yeah, I would say McMillan. I would drop to 18 and put Golden at 19-ish.
yeah, and then Ibuka's at about 14,
I like him
and
a lot.
and Burden's around 13.
I would take Burden over McMillan.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
This is why I got you on, man, because I know you're not gonna talk about how everyone else talks, and
I'm
that's what I
not.
like about it.
I'm not buying the Kool-Aid. It's just like I follow. We follow enough. Like I don't need to look at rankings of Matt Miller to tell me what I know. I'm sorry.
No, you know what you know. I mean, it's hard, and it's
I'm
also
gonna be
hard.
wrong on these calls too.
And look how many of us are actually right on these calls. We might sound like we're gonna be right, but if we hit like, I think what is it, 40-some%, that's a good hit.
You'll only see the receipts when I'm right, but yes.
Yeah. Was there any other good wide receivers you saw there too?
Like Cam Ward with Pro Football. That's another time the receipts are correct.
Like I remember, like, well, Isaiah Bunn said he was going to run a 4.2, and he ran a 4.4 instead, so that hurt him.
100%.
So his receipts are bad.
He's done, not done, but like he's done. Like he's not really relevant in the draft as much as he was. Isaiah Bond. He basically, it's wild what happened to him. The crazy plot twist was he was Matthew Golden. And then Matthew Golden took his spot, and Isaiah Bond just fell off the map, and then thought he was the man, thought he's gonna break records, didn't even have a great run, and then now he's just like whatever,
Do you like the Mario Hampton over Ashton Cole or no?
Nah, we're just talking about that.
Ashton is the better.
It's bogus.
And what's funny too is I started watching more Texas games as the season went on because they'd be on later on, and I'm like, why is everyone so high on Isaiah Bond? Like, this Matthew Golden is definitely the wide receiver one there. Like, and he's proven it, especially during this combine weekend. So I love it for him.
Production plus the combine is just everything about Golden is making him he's going to be a top 14, 15 pick now.
Yeah, and
made
Bond
himself
probably
like a good $6 million over the last few months.
That is so crazy. And did I hear? Was it Elick?
I don't like him.
But people are falling in love with him.
I don't know. Like I guess I didn't really watch a lot of Stanford Cardinal games at 11 p.m. But I'm not gonna like. It's not fair for me to discriminate against that. But I don't know. He's like a tall, kind of lengthy, like a little bit uncoordinated guy that to me is like a little bit raw. Like was running in like a kind of a weird, shady offense. I'm not sure if I could trust that.
All right. And then, there's a few other wide receivers that are on there, but we can hit that later. I want to look at the tight ends.
For
So
sure.
we love Tyler Warren. He comes
Yeah,
in at
obsessed.
$14. He's going to be
Tyler
easily a top
Warren,
10
rookie of
pick.
the year. Rookie of the year.
Wow, rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year.
A tight end as a rookie of the year.
I mean, unless Cam is as good as I think he could be, like it may take a year or two, like every other rookie. Like I don't know. It's either Cam or Tyler Warren. Genty will be in the mix. And then defensively we'll talk later, but yeah, that's where I got it right now.
And no Colston Loveland, no love there.
I don't love Colston Loveland. I don't think he's as good as everyone thinks. I think he's tight end 3-4 in my opinion. I think Ferguson really is better. I think Gunnar Helm could be just as good. And Harold Fanning's nice. So I don't know. I'm not really sure I'm in love with Loveland as much as most.
Yeah. So like the tight
No pun
ends
intended.
are like not as like sought after. Like Warren was at 14, Loveland's around 11, and then it goes Harold Fannin down to 6, and then Gunnar Helm to 275. So it's a massive drop in tight
I'd
end.
buy
Like
Gunnar Helm 100% at 275.
well, especially at the since his raw score was so bad.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think he had like a raw score of like 2 point something, if I'm right.
What is that? His IQ or that's like athleticism?
Raw athletic skills.
Okay. I didn't see that.
And
But damn.
And then Mason Taylor was one who was rising along
Good call. That's the guy I was gonna say. Also, another guy to watch for.
Yeah, he's going on. He's listed right now for $2. And when I say 275, that's just basically the average of all of them. So you could say $3, or you could spend $3 on this player if you really had to.
I get just to evaluate Ryan, like to people who are doing dynasty leagues, this is a way I would say it. Tyler Warren, if you could get him, yes, and then if not, wait for the $2 guys, 275, such as Mason Taylor and Gunnar Helm.
Yeah, so if $3 or less, go for these guys.
Yeah, now I'm understanding the auction pricing, so I get it more.
Yeah, and it's like I always like to tell people like the best way to do auctions is to understand like all right, you have your positions, so you have your quarterback. How many running backs do you need to start? How many wide receivers are you starting? Tight end, is it super flex or not? The scoring system, like people say, like what's the scoring system? Is it tight end premium? It's like, to be honest with you, like when it's tight end premium for me, I don't really care because I don't feel like the tight ends are going to give me that much more points unless you somehow had Brock Bowers last year.
Yeah,
that was the only way you're really going to dominate. But outside of that, you're basically just looking for a touchdown.
That's exactly what I think this year is. So exactly. So literally the same thing. Top guy and then big drop off. Wait.
Yeah. So the best thing to do is
get Warren.
So get Tyler Warren.
Yeah, go get Tyler Warren for sure. Guy's going to be unbelievable.
So if I can get him for $14 in my league out of 200, I wouldn't feel too bad for that. Thinking like he's like the Aaron Hernandez of like tight ends. Like, he's just Gizmo Gadget, Aaron Hernandez / Taysom Hill is how I like to put him at.
I think that he'll be good in any team because he'll be good even in a bad team. Like even if he comes to a bad team, he'll be very good. Like Brock Bowers last year, he'll be just a high volume type. So, but imagine him on a good team. It'd be excellent.
Oh my God, it'd be a lot of fun.
Good coach, good offensive flow. Maybe even like a Miami if he fits there, or slips there. I don't want him to go to the Fins, but he'd be a nice fit.
That would be a lot of fun, but I don't want to go to the Dolphins at all. Please don't.
No, I think the Jets. I think the Jets should really consider him at 7 if they're standing pat.
But they don't have a quarterback.
I know. Trust me. It's a big deal.
Who are they get a quarterback? All right, because Aaron Rodgers is gone. Devontae Adams is going to get released. That news just came out. Tonight, Monday evening, that he's going to be released this week or next week. They're going to have no one there.
Look, yes, I'm a Jets fan. It's very dark, and there's no one there right now. The Tyrod Taylor's there, and Jordan Travis today.
Yes. Travis.
No, listen, like I'm JT's number one fan. But this is very sad news I'm about to say. He just deleted the Jets off all of his social bios today on Twitter and Instagram for something I'm not exactly sure what's going on. So it doesn't seem like he may be an option anymore, which is stunning because it's horrible and he could be solid. Outside that, it looks like the Jets are going to be in the draft market for a quarterback, and they haven't done that correctly in quite some time. So trusting the Jets in any regime to get that correct is very, very difficult. So the only idea for the Jets to me in terms of QBs in the draft is to, address it at the top spot with Cam Ward if you're going to get there. So if not, then you just say, all right, we'll ride it out this year with maybe Tyrod be ass and maybe draft Tyler Warren. And Rodgers going to the Giants. I think that's like 100% done.
Really?
Yeah.
But I heard the stipulation was also Adams would have to be part of the deal too.
Yeah, I think Adams will go with him. I don't see why not. They need receivers.
They need everything there.
Yeah, it's a good fit. He lives in New Jersey, right by the facility. Jets and Giants play the same stadium, and he loves in New Jersey. And this is a perfect opportunity. He doesn't have to move. So I think that 1-year deal, and he spites the Jets in their stadium. It's great.
That's true. I never thought of that. I always forget that they always play the same stadium.
Yeah, it's a shit stadium too. And they built it together, Jets and Giants, and it's still shit.
That's pathetic. You think they can build a better one than that when you have two owners putting their heads together?
You'd think. It's really 1.5 owners, considering ours is not a full person.
Yeah, he got an F in the locker room, like the reviews.
He's the worst. It's tough. That's the problem. The common denominator.
All right, we're gonna start wrapping up here. I'm gonna ask you one more question here before we get out.
Yep.
So, rookie mock drafts. If I'm in the late round pick, 3rd round, 4th round, who is someone that could surprise us in our drafts? Thinking that you think that based on from what you saw this weekend could actually boost their stock, make them actually something in the NFL draft. It might be a late round pick, but could still be someone like say an Isaiah Pacheco, someone who sticks out more than they should have.
Yeah, Woody Marks, definitely running back, a guy that I think could be a Devon A-Chain type. Brashard Smith, definitely another speedster, the SMU running back we talked about earlier. I know Jack Beck, the TCU kid, the receiver, looks excellent. Kyle Williams, Washington State receiver, to me is my guy. Jalen Lane, Virginia Tech. I'm not as high on Jalen Royals as much as everyone, Savion Williams. So I kind of am a little bit out on those guys, and maybe Elijah Arroyo in the tight end position a little bit later on. And then QB, Milrow could be an interesting one.
Yeah, Milrow's been one that's kind of been dropping too. Like in Superflex, he's like a late 2nd round pick, sometimes early 3rd. But yeah, I still like Milrow. I'm still a Milrow fan. I'm not going to give up on him yet.
No, I'm still a Milrow fan as well. But like I said, he has to be drafted to the correct team with the right coach. Otherwise, it could be a disaster.
Yeah. All right, Brett. Let us know where everyone can find you at, and what you're working on.
For sure, you could find me on definitely most active on X, Brett Hoffman Jr. Also have a YouTube. It's called Draft Nights, and Insta, but don't really follow me. Don't worry about Insta. So yeah, those two are my main outlets, and I'll definitely be receptive to messaging.
Heck yeah, man. All right. We'll wrap it up here. You can find me on X at @RyanMunder_FFB. You can follow the show at FF Auction Pod. You can also, if you guys want, get in some rookie mock drafts with me. I'll try to post them when I can. Most of the time, as soon as I post them, because I have a couple channels, they're already filled, so I don't even have time to even post them on X. They're already full. So, but Brett, thanks a lot for coming on, man. I had a blast.
I appreciate it, Ryan. You too. Yeah, I really did too. And have a lovely night, and we'll do it again.
Yep. We'll see you guys later.
Have a good night, man.